Happy Saturday, everyone. This week, we're a little late on our 3rd year paniversary of being in Panama for 3 years. That it was actually back in November, but we were a little busy with protests, so we didn't get around to that. But today, we're going to wrap up 2023 with our 3-year kind of overview of life in Panama, I guess.
Yeah,
and how it's been in a nutshell. Hopefully like a 20-minute or less nutshell, but if I get talking, we might be here for an hour. All right, so if this is the kind of content you enjoy, make sure you click the subscribe button. Don't forget to click notify as well, because usually we only update videos on Saturdays, but sometimes we have breaking news, and you definitely want to get notified of that. Don't forget to join the I Go Panama Facebook group, over 30,000 people strong, asking and answering questions about anything and everything Panama every day. And of course, our website, igopanama.com, where we have articles all about moving to or vacationing in Panama. And we have businesses that are vetted that you can trust. All right, so without further ado, let's take a break and then come back and talk about 3 years in Panama. Okay, so Brian and I, we just kind of came up with this idea. We usually do a
year-end, best, worst.
Yeah, best and worst. So each of us will come up with a list of like our 5 best things about Panama and our 5 worst things about Panama. We thought about doing that, but then we thought, let's just kind of do an overview, because we've had so many changes, and we have a lot of changes coming up in the new year.
We've come a long way.
We've come a long way, baby. But if you do want that 5 best, 5 worst thing that we do, that video, 5 best and 5 worst things in Panama from our perspective, comment below. If we get enough people asking, I'll drag Brian back in front of the camera again, and maybe we'll do it in the next week or so. Okay. All right. So I guess our Panama adventure, I mean, you have to find a starting point, and I'm just going to start it like January of 2020, right?
Yes.
Yeah, January of 2020.
It started 4 years ago.
Yeah, it started 4 years ago. So January 2020, I was in Panama. We knew we were going to move to Panama. We were making preparations to do that. We just had to find a property. So I came to Panama and found our lovely property in Bokus that we're not at today, but we will be at later this month. And yeah, found our property. Brian flew out from Los Angeles and looked at the property and agreed with me that it was great. And we flew back to the States at the beginning.
And giddy and
ready to start a new life at the beginning of March 2020. Yeah. And then we put the deposit down on the property, and literally the next week, the world
shut down
for COVID. So then we had to go through all that mess with the borders being closed and us not being able to get here. And it was a whole nightmare and big story. And
contract negotiations and stuff. Yeah, it's like you have a timeline to close a contract, and we weren't going to make it. So it was an issue.
It was a whole thing. But we ended up,
Everything worked out.
And the borders opened in October here in Panama. And so we were here very shortly after that in November.
Mid-November.
Mm-hmm. Got our residency. And embarked on our new life in Panama that we've been living for 3 years. Now, I will say that Brian goes back to the States for like 6 weeks-ish every quarter. Yeah. Okay, so he's gone a lot. I've not been back to the States for 2.5 years plus.
Right.
So I've been in Panama that entire time, except we took a little week-long trip to Bogota a few months ago. But that's the only time I've been out of the country since then. So, all right, so we moved to Panama, and then, I mean, look, obviously this isn't an entire step-by-step everything that happened. We're just trying to hit the highlights. But we got our property in Bokus.
And renovated that. There was a lot of stuff to do, a lot of hurdles to cross. The property's off-grid, so there were new situations and interesting predicaments that we had to navigate, but everything worked out,
Yeah.
Sometimes there was crying and yelling, but
I was always able to calm him down.
Yes, exactly.
And so, yeah, we were in the process of renovating the Bokus property. You know, it's 5 hectares, oceanfront and main road front. We're on the mainland, not on an island. And then I guess it was March. I mean, literally, we got the property in January of 2021. And March, I guess, is when I started getting sick.
Yes.
Yeah. Which, if you're going to pick a place to be sick,
Bokus is not the place to be.
Bokus is really not the place for it. And yeah, and I just started getting worse and worse. And I'm not going to get into all the details of it, but if you go through our past videos, you'll see I have 2 videos about the surgery and that whole process. But basically, I was almost bedridden for a lot
Yeah, quite a while.
of 2021. Really. I mean, you know, I would have my moments where I could muster some energy, but it was not a good year. And we're living off grid, and then I'm alone a lot because he's gone. And yeah, that was a hard year. Really hard. Oh, and we got Selva.
We got our Selva.
We got our baby Selva toward the end of that year, our Rottweiler puppy, who was extremely sick.
Another sick one.
And so, like we just said, if you're going to be sick and you're a human, Bokus isn't the place to be. If you're going to be sick and you're a dog, Bokus is
No.
not the place to be. So we actually took her to Costa Rica for her vet care. So yeah, that was a whole thing. But she's alive and healthy now. She had been given a death sentence. She's alive and healthy now. So that was a whole another trauma on top of additional traumas. Let's see. We got our boat.
Yeah, we finished our dock, you know, which
Our
was
dock,
an experience.
that was a huge
doing
thing.
almost 300 feet of dock out into the ocean and redoing all of it.
Because how many docks had you done prior to this one?
0.
Yeah, 0. So it was this learning curve, but he came up with like these ingenious methods for like putting
Different
the
way of doing the
pilings in.
pilings in. So it's, you know, Popsy was impressed. So
Yeah,
we liked
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Everything worked out well.
Yeah, it worked really well. And that permitting process, I mean, it was expensive, but
Right. Well, the permit itself wasn't expensive.
No,
it was
the
the
surveys.
survey, because it's got to be an environmental study.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
it
so
took a
we
while.
went through all of that. And then, did we have, no, we didn't have workshops till next year. So that got us through basically 2021. Did anything
Right.
else major happen in 2021?
No, not really.
I don't think
I
so.
think that was pretty much it.
So basically, we bought a property off grid that needed a ton of renovations. We started renovating that property. I do remember Popsy, our property manager, he's our Panamanian property manager. I remember him telling us, I didn't know gringos could live like that. Because we literally we weren't even glamping.
No,
we weren't
it
even
was
camping.
below
It
glamping.
I was washing dishes like outside in the yard with a
In a
water
bucket.
hose because we didn't have water in the house. Yeah, he was like, I didn't know gringos could live like that. We can. Yeah, so that was basically 2021. And then 2022.
That's the first year we had the workshops.
I was the first
So-
year, and I was still sick all of
Yes.
2022. So we're talking about the vast majority of 2021, the vast majority of 2022. I was in Bokus and sick with no diagnosis. I'd gone back to the States. In fact, that's the last time I went back to the States was in July of 2021, and they couldn't diagnose me, or they didn't diagnose me right.
Correctly.
So I continued to suffer through 2022. What else happened in 2022? We had the workshops, yeah.
Yes, we had the
So
workshops.
I own an online school. I teach marine biology and oceanography. My degree is in marine biology. And we had 2 workshops that
Yes.
year. I almost died because my energy level was,
The first week we had 25 people.
yeah. And the second week,
It was
about 20. I
20.
think. Yeah. So we brought a lot of students from the U.S. and Canada down for marine science workshops. And so that was originally the whole intent of the Bokus property, was to turn that into an educational center for biodiversity, for study of ocean and jungle. The property's name is OJO. OJO means I in Spanish. It's the Organization of Jungle and Ocean, Biodiversidad, biodiversity. So ocean and jungle biodiversity, basically. So we were able to have our first workshops. That was awesome. What else did we complete on the property? We did a lot of planting.
Did a lot of planting. We did the front fencing, the gates.
Oh yeah, we fenced in
The
5 full hectares.
parking structure for parking vehicles out there for people who want to go out to the islands.
Yeah, because 2022 we started running boat trips. So if people didn't want to go all the way to Almirante, we call it Almalrante. If they didn't want to go all the way to there and deal with that hassle and the water taxis and parking a car, they could park their, and they still can, park their vehicle at our property 20 minutes before Almirante and take a private boat ride to any of the islands where their lodging is. So that was fun. And and you got your boating license, and Popsy got his boating license.
Oh,
so
and was that the year we got Popsy his driver's license?
Popsy got his driver's license. So yeah,
He was excited about that.
yeah, that was cool stuff.
Imagine being 56 and finally getting your driver's license.
Yeah, yeah. So Popsy still runs those boat trips.
Yeah.
And then, wow, then it was the end of 2022 was when I really was getting really sick and just couldn't take it anymore. I mean, I hate to say this kind of stuff on camera, but I was to the point of let's just end this life, because this is no life. So we ended up going to Panama City,
Yes.
and let's see.
Well, was David first?
No, Panama City was first. I
Okay.
went to a general practitioner, and so she just did kind of general stuff, general tests and stuff, and we found out that I was extremely anemic.
Oh, that's right.
Extremely anemic. And then I told her some of the issues that I was having, and then she got me iron, and then she referred me to a doctor in David. So then we went back to that doctor in David. Wait, when did we get stuck in the protests? The protests were in July.
July last year.
It was on the way back from that doctor, wasn't it?
Oh, did you go
Yes,
to the doctor
it
when you
was.
picked me up?
Yes, that's what happened. So Brian and I had been talking about getting another investment property in Panama just to pull some money out of the United States. And we were thinking about Altos del Maria, which is up in the mountains.
Above Coronado.
Above Coronado. And so normally, like I said, he flies to the States all the time, and he just flies in and out of Bokus. And I hadn't been out of Bokus in a long time. And I said, hey, how about I'll just come pick you up? I need a change of scenery. I'll come pick you up, and then we'll go to Altos and just kind of slow drive back to Bokus. And go to the doctor.
Explore different areas of Panama and that we haven't seen.
And I can go to the doctor in Panama City, right? So on our way back, that's when we went to Altos, and when I was driving to Panama City, I kept getting stopped along the way in these protests, and we're pretty used to them in Bokus because they happen quite a bit. But I was like, why is this happening constantly? It took me 12 hours to get to Panama City from Bokus. It was ridiculous. Well, by the time we had kind of gone through Altos del Maria, and we were ready to come home, the 2022 protests were in full swing, and we had 20 blocks between Coronado and our house in Bokus, and
There was
shut
no
down.
way through. None.
Shut down completely. And fortunately, a wonderful IGO Panama member knew we were stuck and said,
well, we started in Altos, and then we drove the back road down to El Valle, and that's when we discovered El Valle.
yeah,
And so
That's
we
where we
got
are
an
right now.
Airbnb here for a few nights. And what had happened was we couldn't extend it there because of there were other guests coming in. So we were panicking on where we were going to go. And that's when we were contacted.
That's when an IGO Panama Facebook member said, hey, I hear you're stuck. Our condo in Vistamar, which is down literally at the bottom of the road almost, is empty because we just left. You're more than welcome to stay there. And we ended up being there for 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
During the protests. And during that time, we had nothing to do, so we were exploring El Valle. because we realized Altos del Maria, while it's beautiful and the homes are lovely, lovely, there's no restaurants, there are no stores. You have to drive to Coronado
Basically
to get
Coronado
to
to get anything.
And we live in Bokus, and we had been driving a billion miles to get to anything already, and that's really not something we wanted to do again. And El Valle has a big grocery store, big Ray, tons of restaurants, things to do.
Lots of walking, lots of hiking.
Yeah, it's a nice little community. So we started just coming up here and exploring and
driving all the side roads, looking at all the for sale signs.
Every for sale sign.
Say Vende, say Vende.
Everything.
Anything.
And we've actually found this property.
Yes.
So this is the property that we're at right now here in El Valle, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So we ended up buying this property. We went back to Bokus. I went to the doctor in David. I was properly diagnosed finally. Went back to Panama City in
She referred us back to
December.
Panama City to a surgeon back there.
Yep. Went back to Panama City, had my surgery in December of last year, and I'm much better.
Right. Knock on wood.
Much better. So they really changed my life.
Yeah, and that's when we came back to Altos, stayed there for a while, and then while you had your surgery.
Yes.
So, and then we decided we didn't want to be in Altos anymore, so we found a rental here in El Valle while we developed our property here.
Well, it wasn't that we didn't want to be in Altos, it was that we couldn't find a rental in El Valle.
Yeah, that's true.
We could not find a rental here. And so it wasn't until like March. And again, an I Go Panama Facebook member to the rescue who had a rental here in El Valle, and she was going back to the States, and she's like, hey, do you want this? I'm like, oh, yeah. So we moved into that.
Right.
And then we moved into another rental.
We found a better one.
Between November, December, January, February, March, 5 months, we moved from Bokus to Altos. I had surgery. We moved from Altos to the one El Valle rental, and then we moved to another rental. That's how we roll around here, though. We're
by the seat of her pants.
Yeah. So then basically, so that was all of 2022 and into 2023. And so then we've started the process of building a home here in El Valle on our property. We do still have our property in Bokus.
Well, and in the middle of starting that process, we had our workshops again.
That's right. We went back to Bokus for our workshops. That's right. And my son and daughter-in-law, who we're going to talk about at the end of this video, they came out and helped us with the workshops. We had one workshop this time, and it was fabulous. Then, it was before that something else happened, Brian.
Yes.
What was that?
The
And there
well.
better not be, no!
Oh.
Yes. And there better not be a we did that, because we didn't do nothing.
You act like I failed at something. Actually, it started because you got involved in something on
God.
So it was a
first of all-
impromptu trip from Altos to El Valle.
Moral of the story, I'll just sum up the moral of the story. Do not get involved with crazy people on Facebook and try to help them. Let crazy deal with crazy. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So we decided brilliantly to drive the back road from Altos to El Valle. Well, on the way there, it really started raining hard. And if anybody's been on that road, it's very steep and windy and stuff like that. So we're coming back down the road, and there's this really long, steep stretch, comes around a little S-bend, and it was raining pretty heavy. We were four-wheel drive, going slow, and as we come around the corner, the rain from the backside was washing the slope across the road, so it was
Gravel.
well, not even gravel. It was just that mud, that clay, silt mud coming across, and it just turned it into a ice skating rink. So we just started sliding. Nothing we could do, no brakes, no steering, nothing. We were pretty much at the whim of whatever the vehicle was going to do.
And thank God it hit into the side of the mountain and didn't go off the cliff.
Yeah, so about 100 yards down, vehicle went 90 degrees into the side of the mountain and slow tip.
And this was what, 3 weeks after my surgery?
Yes. To give you an idea, the people at the bottom of the hill, they decided, oh, hey, let's go up and help them. They couldn't even go up the hill. They just started spinning. They couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
People coming, down the hill, we could hear them hitting the brakes, sliding.
And I was still in the truck because
Right.
I couldn't get out because I was standing with my feet through the passenger side window, which was on the pavement, and I didn't have the strength to pull myself out. So Brian and a
Right.
Panamanian came up and pulled me out. That was a crazy story. And then how long was it until we got our truck back?
So that was in January. We just got our truck back, what, a month ago?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
just got
11
our truck.
months of insurance hell, and we have a video we have to do on that. So if you want to know how that whole process works here, if you're from the States, it ain't the same. I'll just tell you that. Okay, so, oh God. All right, so we wrecked the truck. We had workshops, and we started building the house that we're sitting on the porch of right now. And if you've been watching the videos, we're doing a whole building series of how we've been building this house, putting in a well,
Putting in another well.
getting ready to sue the first well person.
Yes.
Yeah, we've learned a lot about contracts, what needs to be in them,
Permitting.
permitting,
To
all
the
of
point
that
to
stuff.
where it's taking longer to finish the permits than it is to build the house.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
We're almost done with the house right now,
And
and
we're still waiting for permits.
waiting on permits to get electrical.
Yeah, and we have like all of our, like, what do they call them, provisional building
Yeah.
permits, so it's not like we're doing something we shouldn't be doing. We have those permits, but the final stuff we don't have yet. So that's been the majority of this year, dealing with building this house. And like I said, if you're interested in that kind of thing, we have a whole video series that we're in the middle of
Well,
right
and
now.
it's actually been good because this whole year I've been here since May because of the writers and actors strike in the States. So I've been out of work anyway.
He works in the
so-
movie industry, so he's been out of work, yeah. So I put him to double work here.
Exactly.
He needs to go to work in Los Angeles to have
To
a
get a
vacation.
rest, yes.
So yeah, it's just been, gosh. And now the house is almost finished.
Right.
I mean the outside and all the, what do you call it, the gray build or whatever?
Yeah, it's a
The
gray build,
Gray build
so
is done. We have
It's
to go
just
in
the
and
interior finish that I'll be doing myself.
yeah, the finished stuff. So yeah, crazy stuff. Oh, and then somewhere in there, we got another dog, our Australian Shepherd Tico, that we flew to Costa Rica and got him.
You went to Costa Rica.
Went to Costa Rica, that's right. So I've been out of the country twice, but that was like for 24 hours.
Right.
Fly to Costa Rica, pick up a dog, fly back. Yeah. So, oh God, guys, it's been nonstop. And on top of that, doing videos every week. On top of that, the I Go Panama Facebook group. Then in August of this year, we launched the website.
webpage.
And so, dealing with, marketing for businesses and writing articles to help expats and tourists navigate Panama. On top of all of that, running my school. On top of all of that, our new educational project,
line.
keeping him in line, which is a 3-time full-time job. My new educational project that I'm working on. And then at the end of this year, we had another round of protests, much worse than the first ones.
Absolutely.
So if you were around for that, I was on top of that, reporting every single day for 42 days. Yeah, so more protests, and then during...
The light at the end of the tunnel. The little cherry on the cake happened.
Yes, over Thanksgiving.
Right.
So 2024 is going to look very different for us in a lot of ways. Well, I have the new educational project that I'm doing that has nothing to do with Panama, so we don't talk about that. But I have a huge project that I'm working on. And then Thanksgiving, remember my son and daughter-in-law that I told you that they were here for those workshops
In April.
in April? It's so weird to announce it because I feel like it's not my news, but it is because I had to wait until Christmas after everyone knew. But I'm going to be a grandma. I'm excited. So they live in Denver, and you know, you always hear like, why do expats go back to the U.S.? Oh, health reasons, or you know, grandkids, family, that kind of thing. And I was always like, ugh, I would never go back to the U.S. I don't care what happened. But then when you get that news that you're going to be a grandparent, it really kind of changes your whole perspective on things. So we're going to be spending more time in the States for sure, because I'm not going to miss out on this baby's life. I don't want to move back to the U.S. permanently. I mean,
No.
that's just not... I wish I could get them to move out of the U.S. That would be the best thing. That's not happening. But yeah, we're going to be spending more time in the U.S. The baby is due in June. So that's exciting. I had to wait until now to announce it because they had to tell everybody over Christmas, all the extended family. Yeah, so that's major changes on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Other than that, finishing the property here,
Yeah.
enjoying it, how peaceful it is.
Yeah, it's very peaceful out here. And then just trying to figure out how 2024 is kind of going to end up for us. Because, guys, we don't really sit down and we fall into a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
We fall into a lot of stuff.
One thing, we're not afraid of changing directions, changing plans, modifying.
Yeah, I mean, we can pivot as we need to. We're never people that are like, this is the line we've drawn for ourselves, so we have to follow this line. We are zigzagging fools. We are all, we're all over the place. Like if there's an option or an idea or something that's better than what we're doing or more interesting, we'll do
go
it.
with it.
We'll go with it. Had zero plans when we moved to Panama to buy a property in El Valle. Zero plans.
Yeah. And now once we have it, it's beautiful. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's great. And deciding what we're going to do with Bokus.
Right.
You know, do we keep that property? It pays for itself. You know, we have 2 employees there. We have Airbnb there. We have boat trips there. I do my workshops there. Or we may decide to sell it, especially because we'll be spending more time in the States. And it's hard to run 2 properties here and not be here all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a little tough. So I don't know. We have a lot of big decisions coming up.
Definitely.
So you're definitely going to want to keep an eye on this channel. All right. Anything else, Hummel?
No, I think that pretty much wraps up 2023. 3 years.
That is 3 years of crazy.
It's a
People
lot of
come
stuff.
to Panama to like retire and relax. When have we retired and relaxed?
I don't know.
Not for a second. We have
I
been.
get those messages from my friends all the time. Oh, you're just sitting in a hammock doing nothing, drinking a smoothie, blah, 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 blah. It's just like,
No.
they wouldn't understand.
We hit the ground running in January of 2021, and we have not stopped. I mean, I don't know who else has come to Panama, renovated an off-grid jungle project in the middle of freaking nowhere, created a business out of that, created a huge Facebook group, and answered a bazillion questions trying to help tourists and expats, who then bought another property, built a house from scratch, raw land, built the thing from scratch, built a dock at Bokus, got captain's licenses, and we have work permits and business licenses and contracts and corporations and
Gun permits.
And God, it makes me tired thinking about everything we've done in 3 years. Wow. All right, well, stick around.
Wraps it up.
We'll see what happens in 2024. All right, so again, like I said, if you guys are interested in us doing a 5 best of, 5 worst of, we kind of weren't going to do it, but if they comment below and say they want it, will you do it?
I guess I'll do it.
Okay.
Do I have a choice?
No. Okay. All right. Well, everyone, have a happy new year. I hope 2024 is great for us. I hope it's wonderful for you. Challenges, fun things, exciting times ahead. Hopefully for everyone. Because without challenges, it's a boring life.
It's boring.
It's boring. All
Keeps
right.
you young.
Exactly. Happy New Year, guys. We'll see you
Happy
next
New
week.
Year.